Hey everyone. So as our school year comes to a close, I wanted to make sure that I left you all with some opportunities to get involved. Even if it is virtually, it's a bummer that I haven't been able to see any of you and that we weren't even able to work on our projects, but I wanted to make sure that there were still opportunities that you had for professional development, also just to get to know environmental justice a little bit more. So the Environmental Justice Task Force is going to continue to be meeting until October 31st. And by then, we'll be giving the governor the recommendations. And like I said, that's at October 31st, there will be a new task force. But before that, the governor gets those recs and decides what departments of the state government will be doing what things that we put in our recommendations. And that may be things like, ensuring there's clean water in this neighborhood, ensuring that immigrant voices are heard, things like that. But part of that means that we still have more meetings yet to go, regardless of the COVID-19 outbreak. So we have another virtual meeting that will be coming up on June 22nd. That's June 22nd. And the June 22nd meeting was actually supposed to be in Tacoma. So it's going to be Tacoma-based. There'll be a lot of Tacoma-based organizations there. And I really hope to see a lot of you there. And I can include a link for us as well. But this webpage is really interesting. It's from the Health Equity website for Washington State Department of Health. So the Environmental Justice Task Force, interestingly, wasn't put in the Department of Ecology, but was put in Department of Health, although Department of Ecology and Department of Health and actually Department of Agriculture work very close in this group and in the realm of environmental justice. But it took for us to start talking about our health, for us to start talking more about environmental justice, which is fascinating when we start having conversations about intersectionality of it all. Specifically when we're talking about best practices for meaningful and inclusive community engagement with communities of color, with people from different ethnicities, religions, incomes, and education backgrounds. But this is interesting for you guys to look at. I would say go ahead, take a look on your free time, and this is fun. You get to see all the people who are involved here. And these are all people that you can contact, people whose emails are here, and they would love to talk to you about this. There's your teacher. But here are the next meetings that are coming up. So there's a community engagement subcommittee, which I'm a co-chair of. Our community engagement team talks about how we talk to community, but we also talk about the barriers, things that have been in the way from community being involved throughout the process. And then the mapping subcommittee also meets. And then, like I said, there's going to be the next task force meeting, which is a huge public meeting, will be technically in Tacoma, June 22nd, but it will be virtual. And that's something all of you can give public comment on at any point in the process. We take down every single comment. It will be a part of public record. And those are things that we will be putting in our recommendations. And then lastly, I want to show you the tool that we work with. So this is the Washington State Health Tracking Network map, also the index by location map. It's an interesting tool where you can look at health disparities, pollution, social vulnerability and hazards, lead exposure risks, heart disparities, and planning for health. And especially during COVID-19, this has become very fascinating to look at and actually been a very helpful tool when identifying what communities may need our help first. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to put in my zip code, 98405. I live on the hilltop, kind of like in between Hilltop, North End area. So there we are. What you can do is zoom in. And unfortunately, the darker the red, the higher the risk. So you can see I live in a very high risk area. When you zoom in closer, so here you can look at the map, you can move it around, but you can toggle different interfaces. You can look at city limits, school district boundaries. So this is the Tacoma School District boundary right here. You can look at tribal land boundaries. So let's zoom out a little bit so you can tell. So it doesn't show historical tribal land because this would all be Puyallup tribal land. So this is current Puyallup tribal land right here. Then you can also look at the health risks. So we can look at things like PM concentration. Where do you think we'll find that? So that'll probably be, so all these areas here that are darker. So these are gonna be areas that are closer to roads, areas that are closer to traffic. Here's more populations near heavy traffic. Oh, and see how the map changed? So it's actually not as bad in my neighborhood because we're not near a highway. But then you look at the port, and this is where you have a lot of boat traffic. And then here, you can see that's along the I-5 corridor. It starts to get more red. Here, let's take off this tribal land boundary right now. Let's see all these places where the highway is. It's really red, and then red in all these port areas along the water. Wouldn't it be interesting if we could also map the water out? That is something that we're working on for the next iteration of the map. Oops, sorry. Let's go back to topic selection. Social vulnerability and hazards. So let's look at something from socioeconomic. So percent unemployed. So the areas where red, there are more people who are unemployed. There's not a lot of people living on the port, so that makes sense. But in my neighborhood, unfortunately, that's not great. And then you can see in the north end where it's a little bit more affluent. So let's look at high school diploma. Oh, see, it shifted a little bit. So yeah, just go ahead and take a look at this map. It's a really interesting tool. And like I said, this is something that we're using during the Environmental Justice Task Force process. And it's telling us a lot about our communities. And there was a lot of community involvement when creating this. But yeah, I hope everybody has a great school year or has a great end of the year and a great summer. I'm really sad that we weren't able to meet with each other. And I really hope that you had a good year with the rest of your classes. Everybody, please stay safe. And I can't wait to see you again. You know, even if I won't be teaching classes anymore, I will still be working at the Zoom, meaning you will see my face every single day. Miss you all.